Welcome to another episode of Out of Spec Dave, where this week's EV Tree Stump question is, what got you into driving an EV? And so I want to thank everyone for their video submissions this week, and let's get into it.
So there's a lot of reasons why I drive an EV, but to really get to the bottom of it, let's go back to when I first started. When I first started driving EVs, it was 2009, and I was in a pilot program that I applied to be in, really because I was just curious about alternative fuel vehicles, and quite honestly, I always wanted to figure out a way to reduce my own personal dependence on foreign oil, and driving an electric vehicle allowed me to do that. Electricity is 100% a domestic fuel, so I thought it would be cool, but I had no idea what to expect. Shortly after getting into the EV and driving it for a little while, I realized there's a lot of reasons why I want to drive electric. And, I remember one of the first nights driving home, I could hear crickets on the side of the road as I drove home. It was late at night. It was around midnight. I used to work late, had the windows down. And as I was driving, I would hear the wildlife on the side. During the day, you hear birds chirping. And I just thought that was so cool. It's peaceful. It's relaxing. There's no vibrations when you accelerate. Everybody knows the instant torque is just nuts. You can't replicate that with internal combustion engine vehicle. And that really is what hooked me. I mean, I might have gotten into it for other reasons, but the reasons why I drive them now is just a better driving experience than gasoline and diesel vehicles, hands down. And that's why we're really going to make this transition to electric vehicles for our entire fleet of personal transportation. It's not because of government mandates or incentives. It's going to be because the vehicles are better. They provide a better driving experience. And once everybody's had the chance to experience what electric drive is about, I think they're going to agree.
How you doing? My name is Mike Gilbert, and I drive the F-150 all-electric Lightning. I've been interested in EVs for a while, but finding the one vehicle that could kind of accommodate all of the use cases that I needed in a single vehicle didn't really exist until the Lightning came out. A lot of different reasons why I'm into electric vehicles. The environmental factors for one, electricity costs. Even though I live in one of the most expensive electricity rates in the country, it's still less expensive than the equivalent F-150 gas engine. But I would say the number one reason why I'm interested in electric vehicles and what keeps me interested in electric vehicles is I'm not a massive car guy, though I do enjoy getting new cars and switching out vehicles. I'm really a technology guy. So to me, the electric vehicles are absolutely the cross-section of transportation and technology. They always get smarter, they get better. I can't tell you how many times I bought a vehicle and then the next model year a feature or more horsepower is unlocked or something new comes, and these over-the-air updates that the electric vehicles are so synonymous for was a big motivating factor that got me into it. So far, this has been absolutely amazing. For almost every use case, this is better than the gas truck I came from. It rides smoother, it's quieter, and it just does the job better with just about everything except for long distance towing, but I don't do too much of that. So for my use case, this works well. Been loving it, and loving digging in here to the electric vehicle world. Thanks a lot.
So the question being asked is, why do I drive an EV? And it's funny that today is the day that I'm recording this, because today is actually the day that I've become officially a 100% EV driver. I got rid of my ICE car today, my gas car that I had bought, that I had for years. And when I bought this, I in a Volkswagen ID4. When I bought this, I said, you know what? I'm going to keep the gas car and decide if I like it, like the electric car or not. And that was back in December of 22. It is now May of 23. And I officially made the decision literally today. My gas car got picked up and was sold, and it's gone. So now I am a 100% EV daily driver user. Why? That's a great question. I ask myself all the time, why am I driving something that I need to plug in? And the answer probably has to do with a lot of different things. First of all, initially when I bought it, it was more about curiosity, right? I had looked into different cars, different electric cars, nothing really Nothing really excited me. And then the ID4 came along, and I liked it. I liked the way it looked. I took one for a drive. I loved the way it drove. I loved the way it drove. And I said, you know what? I'm going to buy this thing and make a decision in a couple of months. And why am I going to continue? Why did I make this decision? Quite frankly, it's just a great driver. I love the fact that it charges overnight. I wake up every day to a full tank of gas, so to speak, and it's quiet, it's comfortable, it's fast. There's just everything about the driving experience that I enjoy. I enjoy a little bit more with an electric car. So if you're going to ask me why do I drive an electric car, it's not just one reason. It's a lot of reasons. And I think I'm kind of hooked. This could be it for me now. EV all the way.
Hi Dave, my name is John Seville, and my journey into the electric vehicle world started on a bus trip that I was invited to go on with our local Porsche dealership, Porsche Owings Mills. They take a bunch of us up to the New Jersey Motorsports Park to race Porsches for the day. One of the Porsches they had out that day to race was a Taycan. I am a huge EV enthusiast, but I'd never driven one. I'm in the battery business and I'm an engineer, so I was dying to drive an electric vehicle. I drove that Taycan and I was in love with it. From the second you hit the accelerator to when you throw that thing into a turn, it was unreal. So fast forward a year or so, I guess it was 2021. I was taking my Macan in for service. I stopped in the dealership to say hi to my buddy who works there, and I saw this beautiful Taycan on the floor, and a couple days later it came home with me. And then in November, this past November, I had an opportunity for a allocation, so I traded in the red car and I spec'd out this beautiful new Taycan 4S, which I just picked up a couple of weeks ago. It is amazing. So then you're asking, why is the red car still in the driveway? Well, that's a story for another day.
Why do I drive an electric car? There are many reasons. The biggest one, when my wife and I started shopping over 5 years ago, was safety and efficiency, or cost of owning the car. How to get from point A to point B safely, reliably, and efficiently. These cars have delivered and exceeded on all our expectations in all of those areas. With safety, we've both been hit by drunk drivers in the past, which changes your perspective forever on driving a car and what can happen out there. The next piece would be efficiency, where when I took delivery of this 2018 Tesla Model 3 long range in December of 2019, I was setting out to do over 20,000 business miles for a new job I had. So no regrets there. This car got me all over the place. 150 superchargers, over 70 different locations, all over the Northeast. I live here in Connecticut. And now since then, we drive to Boston and New York a lot to visit family. And at one point we have family in Pittsburgh. That was a 9-hour trip. My wife and I were amazed to see that the comfort of the seats was great. The lane centering for me as a driver was great. I drive the whole 9 hours and feel fine. And we stopped just twice to supercharge when we needed lunch and dinner anyway. It turned out it was no big deal or nothing to worry about. So much enjoyment of having our first all-wheel drive here that my wife, a year later, when her 2005 Honda Civic was giving it up and getting towed twice while I was on business trips, she went and got a 2020 Standard Range Plus. So these have been a huge success in our family, again, for safety and efficiency and wicked low cost per mile. In fact, getting business reimbursed, it felt kind of crazy how much cheaper these cars are to operate than any gas car. All right, then finally, the fun factor. How do I explain this? Well, after almost 40 years having my driver's license, driving an electric car is what a car should have always been for the last 100 years. When you touch the throttle, a little or a lot, it does exactly what you want immediately. There's no downshifting, no waiting. I can't really describe enough what that means. You'll know what I'm talking about when you get out there and test drive the car that you're interested in. You want to make sure the seats are comfortable, make sure you're happy with how it feels and the visibility and all that. I strongly encourage you, and as part of now EV Club of Connecticut, I've been very much an enthusiast for looking at charging technology so that people can buy any brand of car and do road trips safely and easily. But keep in mind, most people, if you have a garage, you're going to charge at home. You're no longer going to the gas station. You leave every morning with a full tank of electrons. And just again, keep that in mind. If you don't road trip that often, that's your primary shopping factor. Most people aren't high mileage business travelers like me with 73,000 miles in this car. If you only occasionally road trip, just keep in mind, most of the year, you're not going to gas stations anymore, wasting time getting off an exit and filling up. You're charging at home. All right, those are the many reasons that my wife and I now drive EVs. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Thank you.
Hi, Out of Spec Dave. It's Dave O from Niagara Falls. Thanks for having me on your channel again. These are my reasons why I love driving my EV. Number one, charging at home. I love the fact that I don't have to go to a gas station anymore to refuel my vehicle. I love the fact that I can come home, plug it in, and know tomorrow it'll be ready with a full tank of electrons. And especially in the wintertime, when it's cold out, it's nice not to have to go out driving in bad weather to get gas for my car. I can just go out to my garage, plug it in, and we're done. Number two, EVs are just fun to drive. EVs have incredible acceleration, tons of torque, and they're just a blast to drive. You can switch from eco to normal to sport, depending on how you want to drive. So it's like having 3 or 4 different cars with one car. Another part of the fun part of driving is I like to have a little game with my wife and see who can drive most efficiently. Of course, my wife usually beats me at that, but that's okay. I just put it in sport mode, and that makes it all feel better. And the third reason is the technology behind the vehicles. From the batteries that power these vehicles, to the technology that makes them safer, to the advanced features like self-driving. All that stuff really interests me. And I'm looking forward to see what these cars can do in the next 5 to 10 years. So those are my reasons why I love driving my electric car.
Hey, this is Robert. So, Dave asked why I drive an electric vehicle. So, for us, I think it's makes a lot of sense, you know, having solar panels, power walls, all Tesla, by the way, and 2 electric vehicles. We have Model 3 and Model Y. Basically, we're driving pretty much for free, especially this time of the year where the sun is shining, batteries are fully charged, the cars are fully charged. So economics-wise, it makes a lot of sense. And also performance. You know, I'm on the LIE right now, and I just accelerated, and it's just incredible. So we're in the Model Y at the moment. Just a perfect, amazing experience. I haven't really experienced too many of the other electric vehicles, but like the Lucid I've been in, and it's quite incredible. It just feels like the next generation, where sort of comparable to the difference between a prop plane and a jet engine plane. That's kind of what internal combustion versus EV is. So the technology, the intelligence in the Tesla case, charging stations that work perfectly, and the car itself that navigates you to the charging stations at optimum times. So it's really the next generation, and that's kind of why we drive electric vehicles. Really enjoy it, would highly recommend it. Thanks, Dave. Take care. Peace out.
Right, so what got me into driving electric? Well, first off, I thought it could be interesting to have cars you plug in and charge and not fill up the gas station. And also, I have so many solar panels on my roof that they produce way more electricity than what I can use. So if I could fill some of that into an electric car, it would be perfect. But the most important reason is that for 10 years, almost up to the pandemic, I traveled to the US between 1 and 3 times a year. Sometimes alone, sometimes with friends on road trips, and we will rent like a Corvette C6, and I rented a Ford Mustang GT and other cars. And my last trip until now is hopefully not the final. I rented a Corvette Stingray, red with chrome rims. I like that a lot. And now we have 150% tax on cars here in Denmark. So a Ford Mustang GT fastback would set me back $100,000. I briefly looked at the old Corvette C6 like 8 years ago. From new, that would be at least $200,000, and it's a specialty import. They don't really sell it here. I'm not even going to try to look at what a new Stingray would cost if I could even get it. So the pandemic started, and I booked a test drive with Tesla when I borrowed the Model 3 for an hour and drove around by myself on the roads I know around here. And when I had to give that one back, I sat with the exact same feeling as when I was in the United States, and I had to bring back the rental car, and I thought, I don't want this to end. I want this to continue. So I purchased the Model 3, and because it's electric, I only had to pay 25% sales tax. So that was $60,000 for a Model 3 long range. But on the plus side, I get to drive a car every day that I like to drive, and I don't have to travel halfway around the world to find something interesting to drive in. That being said, of course, I hope to get back to the States again someday. So see you around. Cheers.
Hi, everybody. Alex Amoroso here. Dave had asked me to do a short video on why I chose to drive an EV. Shout out to Dave at Out of Spec. So I've been driving an EV since 2016. We built our house in 2010 and went solar, and learned that, solar is a viable option. We were able to live our lifestyles the way we wanted. I didn't have to change a whole lot, and the solar helped. It took care of our electric needs. So for me, it was really a no-brainer. We had watched Tesla grow and learned a lot about the vehicles and the models. So it was time for me to jump right into an EV. Now, I had driven gas cars and trucks my whole life. Never owned an EV, never driven an electric car, but went online and ordered it, and took delivery sight unseen, and not even a test drive, but loved the vehicle. It had its issues, but it was a first-year model, so it needed a lot of cleanup, and did a lot of range anxiety in those years. It was early on for the cars. But you adjust how you do things. You adjust how you lived your life and how you drove, and how you could charge and where you could charge and what you could install at home to do it. And then over the next few years, I had 2 more Teslas, and each one I got, it was better. Car was built better, performance was better, charging was faster. So I was convinced that EV was the way to go for me. And then last year I bought my Lucid, and I bought the Grand Tour. And once again, never driven one, never seen one up close. Ordered it, bought it. Let me tell you, it was probably my best EV purchase to date. Literally no range anxiety. Charging is fast and getting faster all the time. They just did an update, and it's super quick now. Availability to charge, even though there's some challenges with Electrify America, there's still plenty out there. I don't even think about it anymore. The distance I get on these batteries is crazy. I think I charge maybe once a week now. It's comfortable, it's quiet, the performance is sick. I don't think there's any going back. And my wife now drives an EV, I drive an EV, and I think we'll be doing that from here on out. There's no reason not to anymore. So if you're thinking about it, jump in. There'll be some changes, there'll be some challenges, but not as much as there used to be. So take the leap. I think you're gonna love it. Take care. Out.
Hey Dave, you're joining me here in my Model 3. I wanted to tell you about why I ended up moving to an electric vehicle. I used to have a Mercedes 560 SL, absolutely loved it, but there were a lot of repairs and a ton of maintenance that were coming up, and I was getting like 13, 14 miles per gallon. It just didn't make sense for me to keep pouring money into that, so I ended up switching to a Chevy Bolt. It worked out really well. Electricity was a heck of a lot cheaper than gas, and I really enjoyed just the daily driving of electric vehicles. It's quiet, it's smooth, all those benefits. I ended up switching to this Tesla Model 3 about a month ago. I'm really happy with it. I was able to take advantage of a ton of incentives, both federal and state. I'm not sure if I'll end up going back to a gas car for my daily drivers.
Hi Dave, Paul here with Car Spec Garage. So the question that you're asking is, why do I drive an electric car? So it's for a couple of reasons. Probably not what most people will choose as their reason for an electric car. But for me, I drive an electric car for number one, how smooth the drivetrain is. And then number two is the technology in the car. I've been driving electric cars for, 10 years now. I started with the Tesla. I've owned many different types of electric cars through the years, but I always gravitate back to the Tesla. And the reason why for me, number one, really is the technology and how much technology Tesla packs in a car. I'm a retired technology CEO. So technology is the number one and most important thing for me inside of a car. And for me, the electric cars fit that bill more than gas-powered cars, and especially the Tesla itself. So there you go. That's the reason why I drive an electric car. Have a great one, Dave.
Hi, Dave. It's Jimmy. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I drive an electric vehicle for the environmental benefits. Even before EVs were available, or at least widely available, I used to use biodiesel. I used to come out to Larry's Beans here in Raleigh and get biodiesel from the co-op. I'd driven across the country in biodiesel and buying it at farm co-ops, all kinds of fun places. It actually makes charging stations seem pretty easy. But my big thing is the environmental benefits, cleaning the air, reducing our petroleum consumption. That's why I'm so happy. Since 2013, been driving cars with plugs on them. Makes me much happier to know that I am personally not using petroleum. I am personally not contributing as much as others. I also buy my electricity through a program that means the electricity I am using in my home is coming from renewable energy sources. So again, for me, the reason for electric cars, the reason I drive electric is because we have to clean our air. We have to reduce our fossil fuel consumption. I'm trying to do my part. I hope everyone else sees that. I know electric cars are fast and they have tech and all that stuff is very cool. And that's important, that's fun, that's great. But the real core thing is the sustainable transportation. We have to be able to still have cars, still have our economy, but do so without the horrible effects of petroleum.
The question is why I drive an electric vehicle. It's pretty simple. Having lived through the gas shortages of 1973 and 1979, when you had to wait in line for hours in order to get gas, I felt hostage to the gas companies, not being able to get to work, not being able to get to school. So when finally, 2 years ago, when Volkswagen came out with an electric vehicle that I could afford and at the same time was an SUV, I decided to look into it. The federal government was giving me a $7,500 tax credit, as well as here in the state of New Jersey, we don't pay sales tax. So price-wise, it was equivalent to a gas vehicle. So I looked into it and I purchased it. Luckily, about 3 months after that, during the pandemic, the gas prices started to go up and they kept going up. So I didn't have to deal with that. This year, Tesla decided to lower their prices. So I says, well, in order to have longer range, I kept the ID4, but I also bought a Tesla Model Y. This gives me the both of both worlds. I enjoy using either or, and at the same time not having to go to the gas station. I put my own charger in my house, so at this point, the only time I need to use anything is when I go on a long trip. I also keep a gas vehicle just in case I feel a little range anxiety and I need to use that. But other than that, I'm enjoying being owner of an electric vehicle. Good luck for the rest of you.
Hey Dave, this is Tyler from The Average EV. Basically, this is how I got into EVs. So my brother back in 2013, 2014 bought a Tesla Model S. I thought it was the coolest thing. I went out to Colorado for a little bit, got to drive it, really fell in love with EVs and everything about them. Once I came home, I wasn't able to buy one myself, so I kind of sat on the bench, read up about a bunch of EVs, you know, checked the Tesla website every day, that kind of stuff. And later, around, it was either COVID times or just after COVID times, I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through YouTube, looking at stuff about EVs, and out of spec motoring popped up, and I watched Kyle's road trip in the Hyundai Kona, and it clicked in my brain, I think I can make EVs work in my life and with my lifestyle and use case. So finally pulled the trigger, got the Kona electric, which I absolutely love. I'm sitting in it right now. Eventually we were able to upgrade my wife's car from the Nissan Rogue to the Volkswagen ID4, and I watched a bunch of your videos about the ID4, which made me feel comfortable and confident getting her that vehicle, and she absolutely loves it. I asked her today, would you ever want to go back to internal combustion engine, and she said absolutely not. So that's kind of our EV journey and how we got into EVs. Thanks for all you do, Dave, and I'll catch you next time.
Hello everyone, I'm Max with the Out of Spec Guide channel. Happy to be on Out of Spec Dave again. And I've got basically 3 reasons I drive an electric car. First one, honestly, is just traffic around town. The single speed transmission, the fact that the car is so smooth, motor delivery, regenerative braking, effective one pedal driving where you just lift off the accelerator, the car slows down. All of these things to me make for a much more relaxing experience in traffic. And that combines with my second point, which is the efficiency. These cars are so cheap to run in terms of electricity cost and maintenance for mechanical components. Yes, I think tires for electric cars are generally more expensive, especially big, heavy ones like my Polestar 2, but that's just normal. And hey, at least it comes with a side benefit of high performance. When I need it, it's nice to have it, especially in Colorado where gas cars tend to lose power at altitude, electric cars don't. My last reason is honestly financial. While electric cars are certainly more expensive overall, even used ones, I do find they keep their value better because the raw materials are so expensive for the batteries to make them. And my prediction, this is not official financial advice, but just hear me out here. My prediction is in 4 to 5 years, they will be, I think, holding their value better than gas cars will, just because of their sheer cost of raw materials, the value that the battery pack by itself will have to people, as well as just them being preferred option as government regulations take effect. So those are the 3 reasons I like driving an electric car.
Out of Spec Dave viewers, the reason why I drive electric originally was just a cheaper way to drive, and then once I got one, I loved it. This was 6 years ago, and it was you could get used ones that were a lot less expensive. But once I started driving it, that's all I wanted to drive. And so now we have 3 cars in the family now, and 2 are full EV, and 1's a plug-in hybrid. So I love not stopping at the gas station. I love that you don't have to do as much regular maintenance. You don't have the oil changes that I'm always looking at my sticker and saying, oh geez, I'll pass due for an oil change. So you get home, you plug it in, and you're ready. So it's just, for me, it's just easier. It's smoother. It's quieter. It's easier. It's just more fun to drive. They're also quicker, more acceleration. The particular ones that I have aren't super fast, but when you put your foot down, it's ready to go. So I just enjoy everything about it. I highly recommend it. Thanks.
I drive a 2022 Hyundai Ioniq 5. It's the SEL trim level. The reasons I drive an electric, well, first, electrics are more economical to run. I can charge at home from 30 to 80% for under $6. That'd be equivalent to 10 gallons of gas filling up my Honda Pilot. Also, there's really almost no maintenance on the Ioniq 5. I've had it for a year, and the only maintenance has just been tire rotation. The third thing I like about it is that the electric motors are so quiet. The power is extremely smooth. The acceleration is rapid, yet not herky-jerky like you'd find on a combustion engine. And finally, the electrics, I've heard, only have 1/10 the number of parts. So the construction is much more simple than on a combustion engine. So these are really the reasons that I chose to go electric over a combustion engine car.
Well, everyone, thank you again for your submissions. And I'd just like to announce next week's question is, what are the top 3 capabilities that your EV is lacking? So again, next week, I really want to hear from you. Send me all of your video submissions to dave@outofspecstudios.com. And again, thank you for watching another episode of Out of Spec Dave.